All right. So, let's see here. I have been working, well, first of all, welcome. My name's Nicholas Frost. So I have been working on a stream. I've been working on a little project for a while now. This project is a booking platform. Now, I am building this because I need it. I'm not plugging what I do here, but I run a ghost tour company. Well, I actually run a walking tour company. Most of the business is in ghost tours. I like doing the history tours as well, but most of the business is in the ghost tours. So I have been using a platform which at this point in time I'm going to choose not to name. But I've been using a booking platform. And originally the appeal to this booking platform was that it was fairly easy to set up. It didn't cost me anything in the startup cost because there's no sign up, and they do the credit card processing and the booking for you. Easy peasy, done. I knew about this because another company that I used to work for used it as their platform, and I found it, fairly simple to work with. The guy who ran that company lived in a whole nother town, ran tours out of this town, and used it fairly effectively to basically just advertise here and run the business from there, and it worked pretty well. Now, I was okay with this platform for a while. Recently, however, there have been a few changes. One of the big changes is that they started charging more. They've been, increasing their rates. I'm not sure if they weren't charging monthly rate before or if it was just low and negligible, but it's gone up a fair amount. Not like, like it's a bunch of money for me, but I think it's like at least a 200% increase, which is a lot, and then I also have, the thing that really made me decide that it was time to go ahead and really try and do this was I was booking a guest on the phone, and she was trying to get this coupon working and that kind of thing. And it was a 25% on coupon, and she was booking 4 guests. And I'm like, okay, here's what we do. Since it's not working properly, I'll book you as 3 guests, but I'll make a notation that this is definitely for 4 guests, so that way you get the 25% off. And she understood it, no problem, not an issue. She went ahead and did that, and she said, it cost me more than I expected. Let's just put it that way. I charge $29.95 for a ticket, so it should have come out to about $95 after tax, something like that. And then she said that she paid over 101, and I was like, that's weird. And so I had her send me a screenshot of her receipt, and it's like, sure enough, it's from that company. It's for this amount. It unfortunately was not itemized, so I could not tell exactly where she got that additional charge. But that was just like, okay. And then I asked another customer the next customer had on the phone, it actually ended up doing something rather similar, where they booked, and I just asked them, how much did you pay? And they were like, I paid more. And I was like, I literally, and I sent her my screenshot, and I'm like, here's how much they told me you paid. She's like, wow. And I'm like, yeah, that's really not cool. So I started working on building my own. Now, I want to talk to you about how I come to be where I am as what I now consider to be a software engineer. So I've been working with code for a very long time. I was lucky enough, my father bought Commodore 64 for the household in 1982. Yeah, they weren't cheap back then, and it was, a definite, it was the household computer investment. And over the years, he taught me how to do things. I learned how to code in BASIC. I also, he tried teaching me some 6502, which I picked up some assembly code. I understood the principles of it. I then later on, I messed around with basic programming and that kind of thing for most of my high school years. Or my elementary school, middle, and high school years. I get into college, and I'm at a college that still required me to take Pascal classes. I actually did not take COBOL. I almost wish I'd taken COBOL, but it required me to take Pascal classes. But I got that, and I started taking C classes and that kind of thing. And I was like, okay, I get it, but this is getting really in the weeds for me. And I don't mind that. I can do that for certain things. But I think what really kind of took the bloom off the rose for me was at the same time that I was learning C, I was realizing that the HTML that I had already learned was becoming obsolete. I was a guy, I used to brag that I could write your web page on a typewriter. I would say, you could give me a typewriter. Okay, I could type out your web page on a typewriter. I could scan it. You could put the code in and your web page would work. Okay. And because I understood, it's fairly simple code, but I understood that well. And then it's CSS, and then it's these other things, and then it's JavaScript. I'll be honest with you, JavaScript is really the thing that made me go, okay, this keeps changing. Not only does like HTML keeps changing, but JavaScript keeps changing. JavaScript has nothing to do with Java, okay, which is another whole thing. And I'm still old enough that bothers me. But nevertheless, so I got to there, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to try and chase the constantly moving target of being an expert level coder at whatever it may be. Because one thing I said from the early days is that there are so many ways to be good at computers that you'll always find somebody who'll be at least as good at computers as you are. So. Or if nothing else, you'll always find somebody who knows more about a section of computers than you do. I may know PHP and MySQL really well, which I did for a while, but there's going to be somebody else who knows, Microsoft database or whatever it was, Oracle database, that kind of thing better, and that's the thing that the person needs. And so I understood I could always learn from others, but I also understood that really what I needed to understand was the principles. And that's where I stopped thinking of myself so much as a software coder or a programmer. I think of myself more as a software engineer. And one of the earliest examples I can think of this was my admiration for the guy who put together Lotus 1-2-3. Lotus 1-2-3 was an early piece of accounting software that was quite popular. I don't know who ended up buying it. I do not know what it got folded into. Probably Microsoft, considering the time period, but who knows. Nevertheless, the guy who wrote Lotus was not a coder. He didn't understand code. He understood accounting, what he wanted for accounting software, and what he needed. He came from the situation where he needed the software, and he found some coders and said, I need you to make stuff that does these things. I need it to work like this. And so he both took his practical experience in the industry and his just logical understanding of how to build things and told them how to build it and created a piece of software that was unlike anything that had been designed for accounting before, which was what made it really awesome. So I was like, wow, that might be the smart thing. So I picked up, I will still do software engineering. I was using, MIT App Maker or whatever it is, for a little while some years ago. I think you'll actually find an old video on this channel where I'm showing how to use a little app that I created for tour guides to do scavenger hunts during their tours. And I'm explaining how to use it. And I've used other things as well. Basically, really simple stuff where, you're creating software, but you're not really coding. About 2 years ago, well, actually, I need to back up. It was about, I want to say 7 years ago. I don't know. It was some years ago when I got asked by somebody to write a piece of software that I said I could, but I couldn't. I wasn't capable. And the reason why was that she wanted something that was written that was compatible for iPhones, and I didn't have the capability of doing that. And I tried learning a variety of code at that point in time, but I had a lot of other things that I was trying to do at the same time, and I was like, I'm sorry, I can't do it. But that's when I got interested in Flutter, because it's a multi-platform app, or multi-platform coding language. And so about 2 years ago, I discovered that there was sort of a version of Flutter that was like the MIT App Maker that was called Flutterflow. And I used that for a while. And I rapidly discovered that my ambitions typically outstrip the capabilities of this type of software. Just on a usual basis. And as a result, I have yet to actually finish a project which I wrote in Flutter. I got one that was working all right, but boy, was it janky. It was janky. And I'm going to acknowledge that I have tolerance for a certain amount of jank in the early stages of things. But I like a more finished product to be smooth, or at least for it to have a reason to have jank. So yeah, I put down those, and I hadn't actually picked up a Flutter Flow project for probably 9 months or more. But I've been using the large language models. I actually have been interested in AI, machine learning, actually, for quite some time. I used to follow some of these folks and I remember when, like, the whole neural networks. I mean, when basically it was, everything was all about neural networks, and we were exploring these things and how could they build, and and adversarial neural networks, and I mean the whole 9 yards, and it was just so cool. And seeing what it's blossomed into is really interesting for me. I am, at the same time, I should say that I am not whole-throatedly in support of all usages of AI. I fully understand the people who've got issues with certain aspects of it. I have issues with fewer aspects than many people do, but we're not going to get into that. But I fully support a lot of the caution that is involved here. That said, I do think that when it comes to certain things, the machine learning models, the large language models, are really good at certain things. And I am not the least bit surprised to find that they are good at coding. And hey, look what we have. Okay, I got to point this way. Okay, this way. Look what we have over here. That is a bunch of code. Okay, yeah, you probably been sitting here listening to me yammer for a minute and go, "Wait, okay, are we going to actually do anything here?" Yeah, we are. Okay, but as you can see, I've got a terminal open. What I'm working with here, in case you don't know, this is Claude Code. So this is the large language model released by Anthropic. There's a version of it that works with coding. It's specifically to run in a terminal. I think it's actually designed to sort of run in the terminal in Visual Studio and that kind of thing. And I will probably end up doing that at some point. I used to brag that I could write your webpage on a typewriter. So, yeah, I'm still using the terminal. Yeah, I mean, I've got VS Code. What is it? It's down here somewhere. Yeah, there it is. There it is. But anyway, so, I mean, and I'll go ahead and I'll probably do that at some point. But right now, I'm pretty good with what's going on here. And I'll share with you some of the things that I've been doing in this process. Okay, so you now have enough context for me to say what it is that I am doing, what's going on here, what these streams are about. So, I am writing my own version of a tour guide booking app. I am writing this initially basically as a web app, which is a fancy way of saying I'm making another web page, but it's all very interactive. But that's where it's at, and eventually I do plan on once this is all kind of smoothed out and that kind of thing, I do plan on shifting this over to being an app. I'm not bound to Flutter. I would like to do it in Flutter, maybe. I'd like to do it in Flutter because that way I can kind of expand my learning and actually have an understanding of it a bit better, because I understand a fair amount of Flutter by this point in time. But I might, I know that most of these machine learning models are a lot better at working in React. And so, maybe it'll be a React app. We'll see. But I want something that's multi-platform at the very least. So, where am I now? I've actually made a whole lot of progress. And that's actually why I'm here, is that, like, I am surprised at how well this has been working. It was about, I'll actually have to take a look. I'm not sure how long it's been, but it's been easily 2 weeks, maybe 20 days, something like that, from the day that I said, you know what, let's just see. Let me just try. Let me see if I can get Claude Code to do the things that you want it to do. And, sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. But it's interesting because this was really, one of the things about this whole process is that it really reminds me that this is software engineering. I'm not coding. The Claude is doing the coding. I'm telling it what to do. I'm looking at it. I'm understanding what it's doing. I know enough about the code to see that, but I'm not writing it myself. So again, I guess I'm but I'm a software engineer. So let's talk about what we have, what's going on so far, and just kind of pick up from here. So we have a few things here. So first of all, let's reload this. Okay, so this, as you can see, so this is wisereservations.com. That's the one that I decided to go with. I don't know why, I just went through a whole bunch of them, and I wanted one that was, felt historic and old kind of maybe, but also not specific to St. Augustine, because that's where I'm operating out of from, is St. Augustine, Florida, the oldest city in the continental United States, or European continental city. Nevertheless, so I'm in St. Augustine, and I didn't want to have that specific branding, but I wanted to have something that kind of might feel that way. So Wise Reservations seemed like a nice sort of, in between. Who knows? Maybe I'll run into trouble for the owl eyes logo. I try to make it a bit different from TripAdvisor. You'll see that later. I tried to make it, I know that there's like a Wise payment system now, which I wasn't aware of, or maybe if I was, it was subconscious. But, we'll see. Hopefully this is good. If not, rebrand under a different name. Okay, so this is what we have right now. Okay, so let's actually increase the size on this and make it so that this is the main thing we're looking at here. Okay, so got an interactive calendar. You can see that I can't click on days past. Today happens to be September 4th, and that's why I can click on today. So if I click on a day, and you can also see that I can click on next month. All right, so if I click on a day, there we go. It loads the tours. Now, these tours are actually loading from Google information that I have. I'll talk about that a little bit more later, but it's designed to be very kind of open in a way. So I've got a couple of morning tours. I actually do not offer different prices for this tour. This was just a test to see whether or not that was working. But these are the prices for the tours. So let's say I'm going to book somebody tonight for the 8 o'clock. Click on that. I can adjust how many guests are in the party. All right, then I can go ahead and put in my full name. Some guy at com.com, whatever it might be. Okay. I'm gonna pause the stream for a second here. Or actually, yeah, hold on. There we go. I noticed it was autofilling some of my private information, and I don't want that showing on the stream right now. Yeah, let's not list my address on my first, one of these. Okay. So 10 West Castillo Drive. Okay. You'll notice that we are in test mode here. Okay. And it just says use 4242. That is standard for pretty much any credit card processor that you can. I have a test mode key set up on the back end. That's why it knows that I'm using test mode. And then if I use 4242, and then I got to put in a 7 here, because if I put in a 4 again, it tells me that that expiration year has passed. No, we're looking for 42, and then it just doesn't care about any of this. So, and then I haven't tried this, but I'm pretty sure I can save that. For if I want to book with this is through Stripe. So it's actually the processing is through. So I complete booking. It says creating payment intent, process the payment, creating the booking, and boom, there we go. Okay. Booking confirmed, last ghost tour, that's the name of the company. Tour, bones under us, date, time, how long it is. Me is the guide. Size of party, gives a booking ID, tells them who the guide is again. Actually, sorry. Name is the person who booked it. My bad. I booked under my own name. The guide is me. But anyway. Then there's a QR code. Present this QR code to your guide. Also says that it's in your email address. So, whatever it may be. Yeah. So that's that part of the system. Okay, so let's flip over to this side of the system. Okay, so let's reload this real quick. Okay, you'll see that it's a guide portal. It does some auto authorization real quick. This takes a moment to load. Okay, this takes a moment to load because it is pulling from. Okay, so the calendar is actually stored currently as a Google Calendar. It's done that way so that you can use your own account, so that you don't have to. Basically, the idea here is that besides being a booking system, it's one that you have control over. Now, admittedly, this is better for me as my own independent, entrepreneur guide who works with the occasional subcontractor. But it really is just better for. It's better for this kind of solo operation or the small operation. It can work, and I plan on scaling it so that it can scale to a larger company that has many employees underneath it. And I don't think that's going to be a problem. I do like the idea of, as much as possible, however, having something like either Google Calendar, Proton Calendar, ideally something that's secure and open source, but but not everybody uses that stuff, that this calendar is stored in. But nevertheless, right now, for this first implementation, it's being stored in Google Calendar. So literally, it's looking up Google Calendar, it's pulling up these dates, it's showing it for me. It also has a Google Sheet, which is where it stores the tour information. So here, I can click on this, and that's pulling from Google Calendar. It tells me who's what, that kind of thing. Now, I also have this button that I can click on that pulls up a modal. Okay, they're fully paid, so I don't need to do a payment one, but I can rebook them, I can refund them, I can check them in, and I can close this window. If I want to rebook them, it tells me what the next available tour is. Same tour tomorrow. I can select a date. I gotta wait for that to load. Now, this is an interesting thing. This is loading from the calendar again. Takes a moment, but there we go. I can pick a date. Then I can pick a tour. Now, this is actually showing how many spaces are available for each of those tours. Now, this is something which I will show on the guide side, because remember, this from the URL that we have up here in the corner, now this is the side of the app that is for guides. You have to log into this. You can only see this with a password. Okay, so that way it's like, okay, there's that many spaces. We're moving it to there. You hit rebook. It says this will update the calendar event. It's not, I want to smooth out the interface. I'll be granted. Having a little alert box is not my favorite, but it works. Okay. It updates the calendar event, does the whole thing, and it says, hey, I did it, with another alert box. Okay, fine. And then it closes it up. Then it will automatically flip, as you can see, to that event, and you can see we've also moved down to this day, so it's the same one. Now, you'll notice that since I increased the number of people, there's now a payment due. Okay, that means that I can now check on this button. It gives me the options for paying with cash, so I can be like, how much was it? Well, actually, I need to adjust this. I can say how many guests are being paid for. Okay, this still needs some adjustment because the math on here is not quite right. It's dividing that by 4 in a way that it shouldn't, but close enough. We'll figure that out later. A little debugging that's going on. You'll see me do this later on. Okay. We can set the amount here. Either you can also just type it in manually. Here, I just want to pay $7 on it. It's like, okay, I want to pay $7 on a card, and you can fill out all the card information as before. Oh, that needs to be fixed again. Okay, so there's another spot where things need to be repaired. So I actually think that has more to do with where I'm currently, the last change that I made in the current state of things, because I think it broke something, because this is one of the things working with Claude Code. We'll get to see this here in a minute, but nevertheless, I also have a little refund window where I can just choose a refund amount. I should have a little thing for why it's being refunded, but typically it's always going to be customer requested. But anyway, so I've got all that. I've got a space for scanning the QR codes where you can literally, it's not going to be able to start the camera because it's running off the computer, but We're just going to close this for now. Okay. So, nevertheless, it's got little statistics. I'm not going to click on that. Well, I will, but you can see, okay. It's, I mean, that's all fake. Yeah. That's currently just what's on the calendar. And that's literally just fake bookings. It'd be nice if I was doing that well. I mean, not doing bad, but you can obviously sign out here. Then we can create a new booking. Now, this is designed for the guide. Somebody comes up, they want to book at the last minute, whatever it may be. So, again, this is just like thing you saw before, etc. So, you get the idea. And in fact, though, this is what I'm working on right now. So, let's talk about the problems that I'm having. One, this won't scroll. Okay, I can't see any of the tours that are down here. Okay, so that's a problem. Number two, I'm not sure. Let's find out real quick. Let's reduce this back down in size. Okay, so this is allowing me to enter a card number, whereas the other one wasn't. Okay, so that's an interesting thing. It fixed this one, but it broke the other one. I got to find out why that is. So this is what I'm talking about with software engineering. A certain amount of this is debugging. A certain amount of this is just building it the way that it should be. But you get the idea. So lastly, the way that it's theoretically supposed to work is like this. So this is my website for Last Ghost Tour. I've actually only been test implementing it, not in these main buttons here, only on this bottom button here. Click on this, and boom. Okay, and now you can see it's that same thing that we had before on the website, just as a pop-up. So, and it works great. I love it. It's fantastic. So that's what it is. We'll talk more about what it is in the larger scope of things philosophically here and there, because there is a different design idea that I'm working on this year. And that is actually one of the advantages of me being the sole software engineer for this, is that I can say I want to write software with, this goal, with a certain goals in mind, and there is nobody to give me trouble for it. There's nobody to say, oh, well, I think we should code it this way instead. I mean, Claude might be like, oh, this is a better way to implement it, but it's very rare that somebody's going to say, no, you really shouldn't run things that way, or the LLM's going to say, no, I shouldn't run things that way. So, yeah, it's kind of nice. Again, talk more about that later. All right. Go ahead and reduce this down so that we can see what we got here. Okay, so also, I want to make this go a little bit faster and a little bit easier. So I'm actually using Claude Voice for this. That way you can actually hear what I'm saying to the commands I'm giving the computer. This is a very interesting, fun little implementation I found on GitHub. I'll have to look up who did it, but it can be found under Claude-Voice is actually what it runs under. And what I like about it is that it runs a local whisper model, which is a OpenAI model for text-to-speech, or speech-to-text, excuse me. And it runs real fast, real quickly on the machine. There is a way of getting it so that you can talk to the machine that is an MCP for Claude Code, but I was finding that I was running out of context like that over and over and over again. Not just context, I was getting booted off time because I apparently I signed up with Claude Code early enough that I guess they've locked me in at the lower rate because I'm not on a real expensive account, but I'm on a professional or a pro account, whatever it is, but the lowest one level that you pay for, and even though the price on that has gone up, my price hasn't gone up. Yes, thank goodness. Real happy about that. But nevertheless, it's a situation where I'm not paying a whole lot for that. I'm also hosting on Vercel right now with their free plan, which is actually pretty darn good. Now, I originally did this because the intent was to run this as a Flutter web app, but in the end, it is basically just written in CSS and HTML. That may change as this develops, but right now the idea is to get an MVP that's, in case you don't know the lingo, that's your minimum viable product, which is basically saying I want to get this up and working. I want to get it up and working for me, because the idea is that if I can get it up and working for me, then my process of using it, I can refine it, I can smooth out the sharp corners, I can add in the features that I think are the right ones as we go along. So that's where we're at. Okay, so let's talk about where we were. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to scroll back in this buffer here for a minute, and you'll see that it actually did a whole bunch of error, a bunch of things, and I'm like, I'm not real sure. Okay, so this gray section right here, in the middle of all this is me talking. Okay, so let's go back to one more. Woo, did a lot of changes. See, this is why I have Claude Code do the work. Okay. Oh no, that's too far. Okay, so there's also plan mode, and I really should have put this into plan mode before I had it do all of this stuff. But, okay, so let's just go over what I've written here, okay? So it says it implemented the complete payment form, Stripe card element, payment processing, form validation, payment status, test mode notice. Then it replaced customer form with a payment form, updated to create payment intent, process Stripe payments. Basically supposed to be the same thing as what's on the other side. The guide interface now has identical functionality, it says, to the main booking app. Guides can process credit card payments directly from their portal when customers walk up and wanting to book immediately. It takes about 90 seconds to deploy. I've told it that. Nowadays it's taking more like 120 seconds just because of the amount of code that's in there. Okay, so I took a look at it, and my response was, okay, looks good so far. We are, however, having a similar problem as we had before, where there is no place to enter the credit card information. You might look at a modal that we have elsewhere in the guide section for payment. This modal is for situations where the guide needs to make an additional payment because people have been booked on a tour in a rebooking. That modal has a similar problem to this one, so maybe take a look at that and see why that one's working and this one is not. And as Claude and these LLMs have been doing a lot in the last 6 months, it's like, oh, yes, sir, you're absolutely right, sir. Okay, so it goes, you're absolutely right. Let me look at the existing payment modal in the guide section to see how it's structured and working properly. It does a search. It says, perfect, I can see the credit card payment modal that's working. The difference is the credit card payment has a modal ID with a card element modal, but I need to check their conflicting IDs or if the Stripe initialization is not mounting correctly. Okay, so this is really... I'm wondering where it's getting this, because this may not be the right tree to be barking up at all. I do not know what's going on here. We'll find out. You know, we're going to find out. Let's put it that way. Okay. So, it compares element IDs to see if there's a conflict, and it says there's two element IDs with the same ID. And I'm like, well, I mean, if that's a problem, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I'm a bit of an engineer, but this one I actually don't know. It's like, okay. It's like, and it says I need to give the new booking modal 2 unique IDs. I'm like, okay. Now this is something that I've noticed. I do not know why, but it keeps having this error editing file. It'll do it, okay, but it has to read a certain amount of it and then update, and then read and update, okay. And so now it needs to update the JavaScript to use the new unique IDs, create a separate instance for the booking modal. This might be the place where it got broken. We'll see. Let me find the separate Stripe initialization to initialize it, or to update it. I also need to update the test mode notice and ID to be unique. I need to update the JavaScript. Again, error editing file. Oh, search for the correct test mode notice. I can see there are conflicting test mode notices. Let me update the Stripe initialization to use this booking specific ID. I now need to update the error handling. Commit the changes, okay? Okay, then it says, now it wasn't really intended me for to read all of that. Maybe it was, but it goes by pretty quick, you know, often. Okay, so it says, perfect, I found and fixed the issue. The problem was that there were 2 duplicate DOM element IDs between the existing rebooking payment modal and my new booking modal. Both had blah, 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 blah. When multiple elements have the same ID, JavaScript can only find the first one, so Stripe couldn't mount Incorrect card element in the new booking modal. The fix gave it a new booking modal and unique ID, and then changed all these down here, as you can see, from one to the other. Okay. Update the JavaScript. Now wait for 90 seconds. The JavaScript should now map correctly with any conflicts. So, it's right. It's correct. It did it. Okay. It made it so that it mounts, right? We just checked it. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. Where are we at? Here we are. Okay. Because when I go ahead and do the booking, right, it appears there properly. Okay, it's actually I'm gonna go ahead and yeah, I'm gonna have to edit that part out. Okay, so new booking. I'm gonna go ahead and enter some data. Okay, there we go. All right. So, and again, it's that same 42, 42, 42, 42, 42, 42, 7, 42, 42, 42, 42. And then, oh, right, I need to set the number of guests. Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay, so, because see, this is the thing that we do. You know, it tells me does the code, tells me to look at it. I'm like, all right, so we have got a couple of issues. The complete booking button isn't working. All right, let's actually do F12 and see what's going on here. So in case you don't know, F12 pulls up console. Wow, that's this uncaught and import is new. I need to fix these later. I don't know what that one is. That I don't think is related to my problems that I'm having. Okay. So it found an object, a booking. I really don't understand this. Huh. Alright, well, I don't understand what my console is saying because it's not giving me any decent error outputs. I'm going to check the logs here real quick to see if there's anything weird in the logs. Nope, nothing weird. This warning is just telling me that, hey, guess what? I'm using the test mode. Yeah, so not worried about that one. That's not what's causing any problems right now. So, okay, so without any more information to really give it, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back to Claude code and I'm going to start talking to it. And I'm going to say, so that does seem to be working, but there are a few problems that we're having. First of all, I cannot scroll the window down, so I have to make sure that I open up the window large enough that I can get down and actually see the complete booking button. Secondly, even after I input all the information, it does not seem like the complete booking button turns green so that I can click on it. But it is showing, at the very least, a place for me to enter the credit card info. Go ahead and take a look at the screenshot. Okay, so I do that. Is this working? Okay, there we go. It says transcribing. Okay, transcribed. Okay, now paste. It's not the... I didn't say it was the most, smoothest process, but once you get used to it, it's pretty quick. Okay. Did it actually transcribe properly? Okay. Now let's go ahead and give it a screenshot to look at. This is pretty straightforward in Claude now. There we go. Okay. And... yeah, there we go. It's my phone. Alright. screenshot that and paste that. It's gotten a whole lot easier. They actually added that functionality, like, since I started working on this project. They added that about 10 days ago, where I could just paste in a picture instead of dragging it in from my screenshots folder. But anyway, and then I can just hit enter. And now it's booping. See, it says booping at the bottom. It's fun that way. So I'm going to let it boop. It says, all right, issue 1, modal is too tall, can't be scrolled. It's fixing that now. Let's see if I can actually get this visible. Oh, I had it much closer a second ago. Let me try it again now. There we go. Some people call me the Spice Cowboy. Some people call me the Fremen of Love. Some people call me Moadib. Okay. So, all right. It says, looking at your screenshot, I can see that all form fields are filled out, but the button stays disabled. This suggests the validation function is working properly. The button should turn green, will be enabled when all required fields are filled. Let's check and see what's happening with the validation. The issue might be the validation is function of, okay, right. Should also be included. Okay, oh, okay. It added a whole lot more, and I've lost it. Okay, so this is what'll happen, is I'll be reading, I'll be like, all right, I've done all this, here's some code. It's working on the validation code, so I get the gist. Okay, now it's committing changes. So while it's doing that, let me go back and look and see what we have here. Okay, so it found modals to stall. All right, found the booking modal scroll container, made it scrollable. Okay, that's where we're at here. Okay. Let me check what's happening in validation. The issue might be that the validation function is only checking specific fields, but not the stripe part element readiness. I can see the validation logic looks correct. The element might be the stripe part validation should also be included. See, we're going to talk about this here in a minute, because I've done something dumb here again. Let me also check if there's a timing issue with the form validation bits. These things right here, this is what plan mode is for. Okay, I have not put it in plan mode. I've got an auto accept edits on. I really need to put this in plan mode. So, at least if this will work, I really definitely need to. Let me also check if there's a timing issue with the form validation events. Let me update the validation check and see if there's to check for element completeness and add debugging. Okay, this is an important thing. Add debugging. I'm not going to have to ask you to do this, but I often do, because that means there'll be something in the console or the logs that I can look at. Okay, add some debugging, console log, blah, 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 blah. You got a debugging log, blah, 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 blah. Also need to make sure the validation runs when the stripe card element changes. Let me commit these changes in test. Okay, and then it says, I fixed the booking modal scrolling, fixed the complete booking button validation, what to test scroll, button validation, wait for it to deploy. Okay, so deployment I can find over here. Deployment. I should be able to find that. Last one was an hour ago. It took me some time to get the stream set up, or the recording set up. And I've been talking for a long time. Let's do this again. There we go. Now it's building it. Oh, hey, just finished building it. Okay, groovy. Let's go over to here. Close that up so we can see it better. And reload this puppy. Oh. Okay. Right, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this here. Okay, let's go to the 18th. Let's take a Twisted Timelines tour. Alright, I'm going to have to pause again. Okay. So put in fake card info that it likes. Alright. Oh, right. wondering if maybe... If I just delete this for now. Okay, I can do it again. Nope, okay. You see, this is still grayed out. Not clickable. At least it's scrollable. See all the parts, that's good. Okay, so that worked at least. That was an improvement. Otherwise, it doesn't know what the hell it's doing. Like, it can add a scroll bar, but as far as this button validation thing goes, it is all messed up. So, here's the good news, all right? I can go back. You see this all, I don't know if it's obvious, but the way this is working is that I tell it to commit. It's committing locally, pushing to GitHub. GitHub is linked to my Vercel deployment. Vercel sees that there's a new deployment on GitHub and deploys it automatically. I mean, as far as, getting an easy to just punch through system goes, I will give it full credit for that. It is working quite nicely that way. So no complaints there. All right. Thing is, though, this shit still ain't working, and it needs to. Let's see what we got here. Oh, all right. So, all right, I'm looking over here. Oh, you guys can't see that because my little thing's over it. Okay. Scroll this down just a little bit so that's not covering it. Okay, yeah. There we go. So, these are my recent deployments right here. And you can see that I've got one from 2 hours ago, one from 4 minutes ago, and neither one of these has worked. Okay, this one I'm pretty sure is the one that broke that other part of the system that I had that I was saying, whoa, why is that not working? I'm pretty sure that's what broke that. So I'm going to go back to that commit. I'm actually going to roll back at this point because this last 2 rounds of changes have been making changes to the code, and I'm sorry. I mean, I can look and see what it did, but I honestly, it doesn't matter. Okay, it's going to take me more time to sit there and look at what it did than to tell it to fix it. I mean, I'll just be honest with you. I could, but I'm not going to. Okay. So I'm going to go back and be like, hey, this is wrong. We need to go back 2 commits and go from there. So. Okay, the good news is the scrolling is working. The bad news is none of the validation forms are working, and I believe the validation form on the other side is still broken. Okay, I'm going to have to check that actually. All right, so it's transcribing, taking a second, there we go, paste that. I actually might switch to a more efficient model because, oh my goodness, the computer that I'm building this on is not powerful. Let's just put it that way. Okay. All right, so let's actually check this and see if that is still broken. Okay, so we're going to get out of there. We're going to go to here. We're going to rebook these people for an extra guest. Same tour tomorrow. Boom. That moves them from that tour to this tour. Same tour, just the next day. Okay, but now they need to pay for more. Okay. So, let's look at this card modal. Yep, that card modal is still, see this right here? Right there at the bottom. Still broken. So, I didn't say that all the right way, so let's try that again. the credit card processing in the tour details side of the guide app is still broken as well. Period. So let's go ahead and roll back the last 2 commits and then re-implement the scroll bar and don't do anything else. Then we'll go into plan mode and see about fixing the button form validation. Transcribing. There we go. And I believe I said the twice in there. Period. All right. There we go. Roll back the changes. Fix the scrolling button. Have some water. Oh. Now, there is a way to get it to do the testing itself. And if I had the funds to spend on this, then I would. But right now, the next level of Claude is $100 a month. And I'm not spending that right now. Okay? I will at some point, but no. But there is an NPC called Playwright, which allows it to open up a browser, take screenshots of the browser on its own, and then look at it instead of me doing all of this process. That's okay. I don't feel like, I mean, 100%, I'll just be honest with you, I don't feel like Claude Code is there yet, or most of these tools are there yet, that it can do some of this, but it can refine UI. I've got a good little thing for refining the UI that way, but for the most part, I just don't think that it's I'm not ready to just say here, do it and give it a look at it. I'm sure that that'll be working just fine in 2 years, but right now it's not there. Okay, so all right, rollback. All right, so as you can see here, the rollback is going on. It's doing a build, which is basically just a rollback in this case. In this case, a rollback and then fix the modal scrolling. So did the rollback, bash, rollback, reset. That's the rollback right there. Okay. Then it pushed it. Okay. After that push, that's what made this happen over here on Vercel. Now it's implementing the clean fix, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Then another one, and then it pushed another one to Vercel. So I'm not really sure if it... oh, right. I don't think Vercel necessarily updates if you just roll back. I think you've got to do a change and then I think you've got to roll back and then change a comment or something, and then Vercel will do a commit. So that's probably why it's not showing an update on Vercel 2 in a row there. Okay, you can see it's ready. Okay, so fix the modal scrolling, preserve all functionality. So here, I want to actually test that. I want to see if that thing that I thought broke it is what broke it, or if it was broken before. That's an important thing. Because it was working last time I looked at it, but who knows? All right. All right, so that's still got 2 guests. Still got payment due. Pick card. Okay, yeah. All right. So that's not what broke it. That's just not freaking working right now. So let's go back and think about, and this is where we get to the software engineering part. Okay, this is what I'm saying. I can see that this isn't working. I'm going to take a screen cap of this. Okay. And I'm going to hand this to Claude. And I'm going to hand the other one to Claude, and I'm going to say, neither one of these things are working on the guide side now. but the one on the main side is. Let's go into plan mode and figure out why that's going on. All right, so. All right, it looks like I was incorrect in that the rebooking modal was not working. So we need to figure out what's going on with the rebooking modal. We need to figure out what's going on with this modal. The one modal that is working is the main booking system on the booking side of the app. So take a look at that and see if you can figure out what's going on. So transcribing. I got to switch to the smaller model. Paste. Okay. Although I will say this whole business, even though it takes a minute to transcribe, is still much faster than the MCP that is built into Claude. So definitely not using that one. Okay. So. So now I hit Shift Tab. Okay, and down here at the bottom. Okay, I don't know if you saw that. This is Shift Tab to cycle. Let's switch to plan mode. So plan mode. There we go. All right, and I'm going to hit Enter. And now it's not going to do anything more without talking to me first, and that sometimes is critical. I have been using this less than perhaps I might. I find that Claude is. I find that there's times when I can trust Claude to do stuff, and that if I can, I can just be like, okay, let's back up and do it this way. So that's where we're at right now. I was able to get most of what you saw as far as that booking modal went, with the calendar and everything else. All of that I got by just giving it some instructions at the beginning, telling it to take it step by step, test as it went, and it basically did most of those with one shot. I mean, it was one shot, short shots, one short shot, but it still did it. And this one, it's not one-shotting, so we're backing up and we're going into plan mode. All right, so what does it have to say? Of course, you always tell me that I'm right. Oh. But I understood what I was saying, even though my language is weird. Let me investigate what's working in the main booking system versus what's working in both guide modals. That's one nice thing about large language models, is that it allows me to be a bit imprecise with my language, and I sometimes am. It knows what I'm talking about. I can fix it if it doesn't. Okay, looking up at how the main app handles form field event listeners. Let me check the validate booking form function in the guide. Let me check if the rebooking modal has similar issues by looking at how it handles validation. Sees core issues. Now it's coming up with a plan. I'll put it in a little box. And then I'll look at it and we'll see whether or not we think it's right. Okay. Ready to code. Here is Claude's plan. Analysis. Button validation issues and guide modals. Timing issue. Race condition. Event listeners are added during page. Load and DOM is fully ready. Guide modals. Event listeners are set timeout. DOM elements may not exist yet when validation setup runs. Okay, that might be a problem. It might be a race condition. Event listener setup pattern. Okay, so that is a plan to fix, and this is really the important part. Fix event listener raise condition, then implement proper validation pattern, and then fix Stripe integration conflicts, and then debug test systematically. Yeah, you know what? This is better. And quite honestly, it doesn't really, sometimes I need to add to this, but sometimes just going into plan mode, and that just requires it to, put it through a couple of extra layers of, thinking about stuff, and it will come up with a better plan. So, yeah, let's go ahead and I'm going to say I'm going to hit number 2 down here and say that I want it to manually prove edits. Okay, yeah, I was thinking about it. Do I want to make that edit? Yes. Simplifying it. Okay. Okay. Removing a redundant function. Let's see. Improve the validation function to follow the main app's pattern more closely. Yes, it does. Boom. You see this? Do you see this? Okay. The red is what it's removing. Green is what Claude's putting in. This might be the thing. Okay. I could be wrong here. Okay. But this is some important validation that existed in the other one. So let's go ahead and include this. I think that was the primary problem, though. I could be wrong. I don't know which part of it is, but something just feels like that might be it. Okay. Groovy. It seems that it's already working. Okay, great. Yep. It had left out party size validation properly. So it's adding that in now. Is it going to create a separate function for initializing Stripe for the new booking modal? Huh. Okay, we'll see how that works, because I have a limited number of functions that I can keep going. So what are we doing? Is this, where are we editing? We're editing guide HTML. Are we creating a new .js file? No, I don't think we are. Oh, okay. Well, let's go ahead and say yes to that one. I'm less clear on that one, but that does seem decent. Go to booking step 2 to call a different function. Cool. Call the different functions, or new variables, excuse me. New variables, what is this? What we got here? Clearing function. Making a lot of changes here, but you know, that's important. And this is the thing. There's a certain amount of, like, I can just, you know, okay, good, you're doing good, give it encouragement, talk to it nicely, that kind of thing. But the code still needs my help in move the old DOM. Cool. There we go. There we go. It only initializes the Stripe when the modal's open for it. That makes more sense. That way we're not bugging Stripe every time somebody clicks on that thing. Although, honestly, it's only guides that'll be doing it, but still. And now we are bashing. We're doing a commit and a push. So we should see this pop. I like how it says shimmying. Should see it pop over here in a minute. Okay. And it says it fixed the event listener condition before it set the timer, blah, 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 after direct call, after the DOM elements. Oh, really? Set a timeout. Okay. Both modals are we're sharing the same variables. Booking modal. Okay, now you can see it's turned yellow and it's thinking about it. It's going to sit there at 1 second for a minute there. I'm going to sit there at 1 second for a while and then eventually start to count up. All right. So let's see here. Validation pattern, main like the app. Yes, add all those things. Why were we not doing this? Okay, groovy. Yes, the button should turn green when it's enabled. It was already green, but whatever. We'll make that figure out. Okay, both models were sharing the same elements. Fix that. Debugging console log. Console log show validation suit in real time. Front button status. Okay. Go to the new booking modal. Add party size. So at least it's telling me how to test it. That's handy. Okay. Alright. And this is taking a while to deploy now. You can see these are mostly about 2 minutes to deploy as we go down here. So it's about 2 minutes to deploy after it starts, and then it takes about, I'm going to say 20 seconds maybe. I haven't been timing it. After you would start deploying. Oh, alright. I do wonder about this, because this little marker that says current just bumped up from the old one to the new one, and it's still got another 40 seconds, 30 seconds, I don't know, something like that, before it's done fully and it's like ready. I'm like, so what does happen now? What page is it pulling up? There we go. Oh, is the 154 including the time? Huh, I wonder. Okay, let's reload this. Reloading it again! Yay! Okay. Card. No! No! Still not showing the card information there. Okay, so we're going to close that. I need to take a screen cap because it looks exactly like it did before. When I'm explaining the problem, I can explain it that way. Okay, let's try this. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Okay. Now I gotta pause again so that I can enter the credit card information. I can't even tell. I'm definitely gonna have to go back and edit this without question. Okay, so I'm recording again now. Alright, I do not know. I wasn't recording before, I guess. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, let's go ahead. You can see that I can get this far. I can change the number of people. I'm going to pause real quick here so I can begin. Still doesn't come up. Alright. To be honest, I might edit this down quite a bit because this is not the kind of thing that I really want to be showing in my first stream. It's okay. Or my first video. Okay. Let's go back to here. I don't see any changes that actually occurred on either's function. Both are broken in the same way that they were before. Okay, I did it several times, so there's several logs. I'm just going to copy this whole console here. Oh, copy console. And we'll dump it. I don't see any changes that occurred on either function. Both were broken the same way they were before. I forgot to paste, so I had to repeat myself. It's transcribing. Now I can paste and see where the cursor is. Oh, shit. Never mind. I hit enter. Hold it down, too. You know, this debug logging, I think, is going to be the right... So I'm going to just let it work for a minute here. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it percolate. Gonna, as they say in the parlance, let Claude cook. Interesting. The fix is adding this operator. What do you think about that? What do you think about that? Huh? That's kind of weird, isn't it? Alright, alright. It is what it is. Let me fix this so I will stop looking over here so much. There we go. Alright. So. Okay. Let's see. Give it some time to deploy. It's all working on it. Another minute and a half for this. Okay, so let me talk here for a minute then. Actually, no, I'll bring that up later. But suffice it to say that one of the reasons why I have been a solo developer, say it nicely, for as long as I have, is that it is hard to find people who are willing to work for principle. And that unfortunately, is really all I have to pay in these beginning stages. I don't remember which I was reading. I mean, I read a lot of stuff. And I look at it with my own critical eye, and, I don't... Oh, good, it just finished deploying. But I think that... I'll just summarize. I was reading about some of the issues, and this is in the 1990s, that people were sometimes seeing with this technological revolution that we were creating. And in the 1990s, I was like, we are building an ivory tower. We are creating this whole separate world for us as the techno elite. And I didn't want to be a part of that. The internet that I bought into was the one that was supposed to democratize it. Supposed to make it so that we could have access to all that information. And we can, right? But we never taught critical thinking. We never taught media awareness. These are things I taught myself. Yeah. Certain problems with that. Just leave it at that for now. Alright, let's move on. Alright, so this is done commit. Let's reload. Alright, so let's first check and see if this functions the way that I would like it to. The answer is not yet. Okay. Close that up. Okay. Like this. Right. Takes a moment for the tourist to load. Should fix that. Honestly, I feel like it takes more code to put an alert than just make it so that you can't click it until the fields are filled, but whatever. Okay. I'm going to do this. I'm going to have to do the thing again where I pause so you do not say, because the thing is that that's still not going to work the way we want it to. Okay, so we've got all that entered in, but it still isn't doing this. Still not getting... I mean, I'm really getting very little feedback here. Boop, 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 and boop. Okay. So we got all that. Yay. Okay. Let's go ahead and copy the console. Oh. No, it's still doing the same thing on both sides. The last two commits that you've made haven't made any visible difference. Parts of the guide app. The last. Here's your console output. I don't see anything in the server-side logs. Mustering. It's adding some debugging. That's always good. Oh, God. Okay, committing again. So this won't fix it, but that's okay. At least it will give, hopefully, Claude Code enough data that it can figure out what it is doing. But this is actually good. This is I should have told it to do something like this sooner. But basically it's like, is it reading the feeling correctly, or the form ID is wrong? Something else is wrong. So we'll see. Take about 2 minutes to go ahead and commit here. I wonder if I wonder. Go. This could be bad music. What this is, that I know for sure, is copyright free music. Or I'm pretty sure. It's Kevin MacLeod, in case you don't know. So. Oh. He's like the free copyright free music guy on YouTube. Like, there's a good chance that it depends on your time period, but there's points where I'm going to say good 60% or more of the music that you heard in background videos, especially if it was like not having to do with like the music or whatever, that it would be Kevin MacLeod. This is not the music that I was hoping would be, but maybe it'll pick up a bit. Okay. So, where are we at? Let's do that. Get a chance to load. Reload. Again. Okay. That's still open. Okay. And of course I have to pause here again. Well, for some reason I was paused. So it's trying to fix it now. It came up with a pretty good plan. I'll roll back here in the buffer so you can see that. So we made a bunch of changes here. But basically, it was finding that it was reading the wrong... This form... They're all empty. This means that it is reading the wrong DOM elements. Okay, analysis. Alright. This means that these are not finding the actual form elements. Aha. Okay. There you go. I found the issue. The form fields do exist, but there's a problem. There's a critical problem. There are duplicate elements. So, when JavaScript runs this, it finds the first element, which is probably the rebooking modal that's hidden, and not what I'm piping into. So literally, when it's trying to read this, it's reading the wrong form in the code. I think that's kind of weird. It's kind of cool, that it found it. Weird. Okay, so you can see it's deployed one. If you keep track over here, you probably saw that this had happened here. So. Jesus. Little chit chatting for me. Song sounds like a fucking Nokia ringtone. Alright. Okay, that deployed. Alright. Okay, it claims that it should work this time. Right. So I'll let it use things. Okay, hopefully I remember to unpause. Alright, let's see if it actually works. Oh my goodness! It looks like it's working. Okay. See, that when it's down to 0, that's down there at the bottom. It's grayed out, but when I have people to book. Okay. You know what? This is a whole lot more. It's a lot further. Which also, there's something in the logs about that. Usually when there's a error of that type, I'll find something in the logs. No? Okay. Paste that. All right. So. All right, awesome. You seem to have gotten that form validation working. Here's the console log. And the good news is there's now a whole brand new error instead of the old one. See, it doesn't always quite get me right, so that's a log. I bit my tongue badly. I have a tendency to do that. Oh, we've got a little bit of an issue here. Context until auto compact, 3%. That means that it is about to forget a fair amount of what it's done, but fortunately we've gotten to here. Pasting in all of these lines of text is not going to help. Fortunately, I'm not throwing into screenshots. Screenshots will eat up context pretty quick. So that's probably one reason why this has happened. But we're going to go ahead and I'd say this pretty adequately sums up my feelings at this moment. So I do not know if you just caught what happened there. Okay, it just did an auto compaction. Now, one thing that I have noticed that happens a lot after an auto compaction is that it will forget that it needs to commit or push. It'll commit, but it won't push. Sometimes it won't even commit. So I actually have a little thing that I copy and paste in. Here. Well, there we go. There's the syntax error. That's good. All right. Well, all sorts of things. It's committing. Do not push. So, you're going to need to push that commit so that I can see the changes that you made. And then I'll go back to here where I was a moment ago. And as you can see, I've got a file Yeah, as you can see here, I tell it there's a technical spec here, and it will update my technical spec at various points when certain things are complete. Sometimes it'll forget to, so I'll just say go through and update the technical spec. But, yeah. Oh. Now, what's weird is it's going to wait 1 minute, and then it's going to ask me to do something, which is fine. It's just funny. Okay. Good. Deployed. Let's go and try this again. Usually reading the technical spec and the context that happens after compaction is enough so that it doesn't forget as much. Load. Queue. I'm going to have to pause this again because, you know. Oh. Hey, 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 hey. Oh. Oh, so close, so close, so close. Check the logs. Check the server log. Server log has some info in it. Okay. Okay, that actually... Oh, that's got some debug info. Alright, groovy. Okay. So I'll hand all that to it. Alright, but that didn't work. Here is some console log and some server log information for you. Copy console. Paste the console. Copy the server log. Paste the server log. You know, it could be worse. And I know that there's got to be some MCPs that allow me to do this, so I've got to look this stuff up. Oh. Oh, wow. Tax. Well, I'm glad that it's... Okay, so I'm looking at what it's saying here. It is discovering that the tax information is wrong. Okay, it's discovering that it's not in the right spot. So I paused it here because now I've got some information that I know that I can help it out with. Okay. There is a Google Sheet containing the tour information, which includes the sales tax information for each individual tour. There we go. So, I didn't need to tell her that by the look of it. All right. Deployed it. It's building. It's doing the whole thing. Says deployed. The issue was that it was calculating it wrong. Solution is to include the sales tax. Good. Yep. Back in validation, we use the correct so that yes, yes, yes. For cell deployment, give it a try. Yada, yada, yada. Sounds good. We'll take a look at that. Oh. Okay. It is deployed. Let us give it another whirl. Okay. Loaded. Yay, pausing again. Sorry, guys. Alright, let's go ahead and give this a test. Alright, booking created successfully. The booking has been added to the calendar. Okay, so this is the 25th at 9. 2. There we go. Just popped in there. Boop. 25th, 9 to 2. Jim Bob Jackson. Awesome! It's working. Okay, that took way longer than it should have. But it worked. And it is working. It's a little bit of debugging there. one of the things that you'll see happen here that I probably should, as I said, should have asked you earlier, was really just throw in a whole bunch of debugging code. And that's actually what I'm asking to do it now. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this stream, or stop this recording, and I'm going to start a new one. But yeah, because we're at 2 hours, guys. I'm going to edit this thing into compress this way down. All right, be right back with you here in a few. But not enough of the coding. Let's keep that going. Okay, so where were we? It actually was working now. It did everything it was supposed to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and let it know. Good work, Cowboy. You got all that code wrangled really well. Seems to be working as it should. So go ahead, take a look at that. Remove the debug code that you have now. And let's see. I think we want to start working on that other modal. Right? It's broken here. Oh, wrong thing. Oh, I messed up. Alright, so we'll just copy that, paste that. Alright. Let's see if this is working. Don't think it is. This one. Okay, so now, I think we should probably take some of that debug code, or maybe what you figured out, and apply it to the other problem that we're having over in the rebooking card modal. I'll show you which one I'm looking at. Take a look at the screenshot here. Loading, loading, loading. There we go. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and grab the file from my screenshots folder here. There we go. Is that the right one? Yes, that is. And say similar. I can either add the debug coding, or I can try fixing it, see if it's the same thing. It's just going to try fixing it, saying calling price and fix rebooking card modal. Might be a completely different problem. We're actually going to go ahead and shift this over to plan mode. See, now it's been searching, reading, searching, reading. It hasn't written anything new yet, so not too concerned yet. Okay, has a plan. Rebooking flow calculates new tolls and tax. Payment intent. Okay. Okay, review current payment error logs to identify. Okay, now it's saying the fix should be simpler than the new booking modal since the rebooking uses process payment, not create booking, which doesn't do price validation. Okay, we're going to actually hit no keep planning because I want to understand more about what's going on here. Why does this modal not need price validation and the one that we just completed need it? Okay, you can see what it's saying here. Basically, it's saying that because the booking already exists, we are only paying, we're basically paying towards the balance. We don't need to check on whether or not there's availability for the spot, etc., etc., etc. I think that's what it's saying. So I do agree that the rebooking issue, if there is one, is more likely a Stripe payment intent amount mismatch rather than server-side validation. So let's go ahead and, all right, that makes sense. Go ahead with your plan. Give it a try. It's going to come up with the box again so that I can formally approve it because we're still in plan mode, but that's fine. Actually, yeah, there we go. But I'll tell it to auto-approve the edits from here on out. And I'll put it into, see down there in purple, it's turned to auto-accept edits. Oh my goodness gracious be. Okay, it's adding debug points. Good. Good. So off of the stuff in the server logs that fixes this stuff, not the stuff that shows up on the console. Just, you know. Because that's where the problems usually are with this kind of stuff. It's interesting seeing what it's doing. All right. Did change the calculation amount and add console logging. And now it's wibbling. Cool. Okay. So, booking data, logs the booking ID, tax calculations, amount calculations, deployment, and testing. So 2 minutes to deploy. When I don't have the air conditioner running, you can really hear the vehicles outside here. I'm right next to the road. Okay. It's completed. Let's load. Sorry, it's just reading a little thing that I had. Okay. Okay, well, I forgot to unpause for a whole section there. It's made some changes. It seems to be working better now. I've got the box to pop up, so here we're going to go. All right, and we're going to process that payment. And says that it did it. Let's see what the console says. It looks like it did it. Okay, good. All right, we got ourselves a transaction ID, etc., etc., etc. We'll be dealing with all that stuff later on. Okay, we're gonna make so those modals close automatically when that happens. All right, so it works. That works. Let's check and make sure this still works, because, hey, sometimes when we fix one thing, the other thing breaks. All right, that seems to be working. Okay, and let's check this one real quick. And that seems to be working. Okay, guys. This recording's been a lot longer than I intended it to be. I intended to fix that problem fairly quickly, but you know, it doesn't always work that way in coding, and I'm gonna say I can't really bitch that much. Uh, this current one, because I left it off as long as I have. This is a 16-minute recording. The one before it was 2 hours. I spent probably 2.5 hours fixing this, which, considering my skill level, is about right. Um, I might have been able to figure it out in less time if I'd gone through and tried debugging this manually, but I'm not sure that's true. I'm not sure that's true. Anyway, it's fixed. It's fixed. It's working. I can go ahead and edit out all the dumb stuff in the stream that I got to edit out, and then maybe I can post it. We'll see. Anyway, thank you for at least showing some interest in what I'm doing here. If you're curious about it more, I'm going to post more stuff. You know that there's a whole bunch of YouTube stuff, and I'm not going to tell you to do that, because if you want to see this, you'll find me. Cool. All right. I'll see you later. Peace.